Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Tonight we're going to look at Spring Boot and HTTP status 400, which is bad requests. How can we use that to actually create a much better API than if we do not use it? So first of all, this is a Spring Boot application. I've pressed File, New, Project, like this, and I chose Spring, and I chose Gradle, Java 17. I press next, I enable Lombok, I enabled the web, I enabled JPA, like this. I enabled H2, so we can use the H2 database right there. That means that we get a database every time we start the application. Then we also get a default database in memory. Then I've created one entity right here. So I've created one entity. This is our spaceship. It has an ID, captain, fuel left, and model. And this is the one that we're going to expose and to give to other people. Then I've created a REST controller right here, and here we have list some spaceships. We want to return some spaceships right here. Look at the request URL. It is a bit different than usual. We have some more stuff inside it. We have API v1 because we want to be able to bump versions, so we can create new versions of our API. This time it's not just for ourselves; it's for other people. It's for it's for external parties, and so we need to make this as robust and sturdy as possible. This is our domain name. This is the space, and then we have a spaceship right here. So then we can create a get mapping like this. So this is a get mapping, and let us just leave with that. That means that if we call get and then this URL right here, then we will get a list of some spaceships that we have right here. And private final spaceship repository, like right here. So now we have access to repository. And now we can just return repository. That's find all spaceships right there. This is a bad approach, but let me just continue with it just a bit more. So we will use required args constructor. Required args constructor. This means that Lombok will create a constructor matching this spaceship repository right here, because it is final and private. So that's what this one means right here. And then we will have this in Spring Boot, as we will have it injector, constructor injected, this repository right here, which is awesome. So so now we can list some spaceships, but we don't have any spaceships at all inside our system yet. So let us just create that. So we will create a spaceship service. We should actually, you should not have too much code in your controller. As soon as you can see, okay, now my controller is getting now it's like more than half a page, then move some of it to the service layer. So this is your engine room. It's greasy, it's ugly. This is where you want to place your logic, and your controller is this is what you would have to actually give an overview to your other developers that can then see what is your thoughts, what is it that you want to expose, what is it that you want to deliver to some third parties, right? Okay, so here we now have the spaceship service right here, and here we can then add post construct. So this means that dummy ships. So here we will create some dummy ships right here, dummy spaceships. We need a private final spaceship repository right here, repository, and we need the required args constructor again. But post construct like this, and post construct. This means as soon as Spring Boot is done creating this service right here, the service bean right here, then we'll actually run this code that we have right here. And in this situation, we will now create some spaceships. So this means we will save all, and then we can give it some kind of iterable. That means that we can actually give it a list or a set. So we can just set that off, and we can say spaceship. I like the builder model actually. So let's go back to the spaceship. We'll add builder right here. So now we have the builder. So that means that now I can call builder, and then I can say dot. We don't want to give the ID because that will be filled out for us. Then we can give a model round. Yeah, that could be the model, the captain. Of course, the first one should be Mike. Fuel left, 99%, and dot builds. So let us build this one. And we just do that sometimes, so we have some different spaceships. So we have a round one, then we have a box, then we have a falcon, we have a We have a sparrow. We have a stork. I'm just naming after birds these spaceships right here. Susan, Olivia, Leah. We take Isla right here. Yes, here we have them. So now we have some captains. We have some spaceships. That's quite cool. And we need to save those to the database. And that's exactly what we do right here. So now we have some data when we start up. So that is step one. And this is a good start. If you're creating your own API for yourself, then this would be perfect. Then you can just return the type, and then the action will actually convert this into JSON for you. And you don't have to think about that. Posts mapping. Let us also have a post mapping right here. Let us say we can create a new one. Public, and here we will actually return a spaceship, and then we will say create new like this, and here we will say repository, and here we will have request body, and here we will just say give me a spaceship. So that means that if someone does not follow the format of the spaceship right here, then we will just throw an error. Then we will actually get then we will actually not come into the code at all. We will just throw some kind of generic error, like I think it would be not found or something like that, because there's no method found with the JSON if the JSON doesn't follow this strict object model that we have right here, right? So that is what we want to improve, of course. So then we have save, and then spaceship. This code, it is kind of okay if you have your own API. Then it's then we return that. Then we get the ID on this spaceship right here, and then we return all of that. It's very short code, and it's very fast to code like this. It is not very resilient, and does not tell the end user, how we should react when something actually goes wrong. So first of all, let us run the application. And I could create some tests, but this video is not about testing, so I will not create any tests. If you're in any doubt about testing, you should not create too many tests, because tests are also code that need to be maintained. You should only create tests on controllers. You should try to not to use any frameworks and libraries like Cucumber, because it doesn't give any value, and it is not type safe like the default JUnit5, for instance, is. So you need to have a type-safe test system, and it should also be fast to run your tests. You don't have to reset the database for each test that you run. If it's not needed, then don't do that, because it will take time. And when you have, even though it only takes 1.5 seconds or something like that, then when you have 1,000 tests, then of course it takes 1,500 seconds, right, to run all of your tests. So don't do that. I'll make another video about testing. I have a lot to say about that. But for now, for this video, we will not create any test at all. I'll use it as a built-in tool called the HTTP client. So this means that now I can actually create an HTTP request. If you use IntelliJ, then you definitely should look into this tool right here. The HTTP is like Postman, just for IntelliJ. Then we have API v1. And actually, look here, you get code completion right here. So now I can just say spaceship like this, and then I can say this is the header. This is the header that we get right here. So now we have a GET request right here with one header, and your file ends up in a scratch right here. You have now we have a scratches. Now I have one that named REST API 8, but I can move that to another folder that's actually inside the project, and then I can commit it to Git later on. And this is the body. If we post something, then we would have the body right here. Now let's just press play. Let's actually see what we get. Look, we get a lot of beautiful, JSON. So, and this is an array. It looks fine. We're happy. Everything is good. Now let us try to do something else. We will try to create a new one. Can I just press add? You can also convert it to curl. Actually, that's also one big thing right here. And then we will say post text body. Yes, this is exactly what we want to do. So now we're creating another one. So this was a get one, and this was the result that we got first. And we can, of course, we can get that result again. That's also a cool thing about it. But now I want to do something more. Now we want to post something. And again, we get code completion because that's just how cool it is. And then we can post something now. I'm going to delete the gets. Let's just keep the get part. It's okay. So here we have the posts, and I'm going to steal the reason why we actually had the get, because I'm lazy. I don't want to type all these things right here. So now I can just post them. And instead, we do not want to add an ID. We don't want to have a caption. This caption's name is something really long. So someone has given this a really long, and now I'm only using maybe 30 characters or something like that. But imagine if someone put in a string that is like 2,000 characters long, and you actually have a limit on your database to 255 or something like that. Yes, you would get a generic error when you use this approach. You would get an exception is thrown in your Spring application, and then you just give error 500, like there's some internal server error going on, and that is not that user friendly. So instead of that, we're going to fix that. Fuel left also right here. We could just say this is -5% left. That is not it's not possible to give that value. And then the model right here. What should we do with model actually? The model, it actually just contains underscore, so this should start with a. It should not start with underscore, right? That is the situation we have right here. But if I create this one right now, what will happen? Post this spaceship that we have right here. It's the wrong port. Port 8080. Let's use the right port. Press play. So now what did it say? It actually returned me a new spaceship with an ID. So it actually accepted this. And this is actually not what we want. If I get this one right now, then we have now created a new spaceship right here. And this is definitely not what we want. We want to have some validation on our controller. And this is where HTTP requests and a status code 400 comes in. So first of all, we want to have some kind of validation right here. So we can say, we can use the service actually if you want to. So that means that we can also create a special validator. So that means that we can have a spaceship validator. And then we can create that class because it does not exist right now. We could say that this should be a service like this, yeah. And then we can say public, and then we will let us just wait a bit with that. Yeah, okay. Let's public voids validate spaceship, and it will take a spaceship as an argument, spaceship, and then we can do some validation in here. But how will we actually approach this? Now we're here again at the create new. We have our spaceship validator. So the first thing you actually want to do is you want to validate spaceship right here. So first of all, we want to return code 400 when there's something wrong with the request, when it's a bad request. And the way to control it is to use the response entity that we have right here. And again, if we type in spaceship like this, this means that now we are forced to always return a spaceship right here. There are two ways to handle this, well, actually multiple ways. But one way is to return a string. Another way is just to return an object, say that we don't care. Sometimes it's because we do not want to return a spaceship always. When it is a bad request, then we want to give the reason. So that means that we want to have some kind of some kind of object that can actually represent the reason for the bad request. So we can have a generic response like this, generic response. And in here we could have a private string. This could be an error message like this. And maybe we could actually also have the private string. We know what was sent, right? So we'll just have an error message right here, but it could be a short version error message, and then we can have a description, right? So we have a description. So we have a short message, then we have a longer description of what actually went wrong. And here we will have a data, we'll have a no arc constructor, so it can be serialized to JSON, all arc constructor also, so we can set all of it. And we would also like to have the builder enabled, so I'll add the builder also. So now we have a generic response, right? So sometimes we would like to return the spaceship, and other times we would actually like to return the generic response inside the body. Okay, so that means that we cannot choose, we cannot return a response entity with the type spaceship. We have to use an object, or we could also just return a string and then we can convert it to string ourselves. We have those two options. First of all, let us try with the object first. So here we take in the spaceship, and again, instead of taking in the spaceship, let's say that we got some JSON in. We actually we don't want to just ignore that part. A lot of times you actually want to have the string, so you can still have the request as string right here. So now we take the string in instead of actually trying to convert it before we reach the code. Of course, this means that now you would have to map it. So new object mapper, and then you will say dot read. The read for objects, read read value. Yeah, that was the one I was looking for. So and then here we say, here first we have the string, request a string, and then we say the object name, and that was the spaceship. So we want this to be converted into a spaceship. And the difference here is now that again we have this. Of course, we have the same result right here, right? Except for now we can actually handle exception ourselves. Try with catch. So now we have returned this with try catch. Instead of just throwing a new runtime exception, we don't want to do that. Of course, we can log it if we want to. We can create a warning logging. We should actually do that, so then we can follow what's going on in our own application, right? So here we have the SL for J. Here we can then say log dot. Why doesn't that one work? SL for J. It should actually work. I don't know what doesn't work, but then okay, let us not log. Oh, it's on a class. Sorry. SL for J on the class level, of course. Sorry. And here we can say log.warn, and then we can actually warn that yeah, something. We can also throw the log exception actually. So then we say e.get message or something like that. So now here we're logging. So that now we know that we actually got some messages where something went wrong. We can also give up the due to this JSON right here plus request a string. So now we are logging what actually went wrong and which JSON actually triggered it. Right. So this is the first step. If this happens right here, then we want to return a response entity like this, and then we want to say, look at all of these cool constructor methods that we have right here. These are our static methods that we have right here, right? So we have all of these cool ones right here. We have internal server error that is the same as 500. You can look all of these status codes up on the internet, of course. Also feel free to use my website, codeinvestigator.com. Then you can also look up these codes right here. Then we have accepted. We have bad request. We have okay. Okay is 200. So you have a lot of cool ones that you can just use out of the box right here. If you don't find what you need, then you can just use status, and then you can type in your own status right here. So this means that I could actually write status in 400, or I can just write bad requests. It is exactly the same thing. Then I can add a body right here. Body, and here I will then add a new. So here I will then add the generic response that we have right here, and then I will say builder, and then I will say error message. JSON stinks. Your JSON stinks. Your JSON stinks. Oh, of course, it should be something does not match spaceship type or something like that. And then we have a description. Inside the description, we could be so nice to actually say that here we could actually say the e.toString or something like that, and we could also just get the message, but I think get message will not give us all of it, will it? Get course, get localized message. Let us just start with get message. Then we can actually see what happens right here. Dot build. Error message dot build right here. So now we have built a new one. So now we have built this generic response right here. And now we're returning that body. And dot error message right here. Plus get string right here. Like this. I think now it is there. Okay, so this means now we actually caught the. Now we actually get the spaceship, and of course we could alt enter this one, extract it to a new method. At the insert, and then we could extract this to some new method right now. But this, I think, is a very good start. So now we know that whether the JSON can actually be converted into a spaceship at all. If it could be converted into the spaceship, then we continue with validating the values, because the values are also important, right? So now we know that JSON was kind of okay, so the data might be okay. So now we want to validate the spaceship right here. And what we want to return from the validator, we could actually have it return a response entity object right here. So that means if something is wrong, then it will return something right here. And when we only optional were returning something, then we should use the optional, of course. Because now we can actually say that when the optional is empty, then no, there was nothing wrong. And when the optional is actually containing something, then something was actually wrong, right? So that means that we can actually say that if spaceship dot get captain dot length is greater than, I'll just say 10 now, just so we have something easy to fix. 15. So like if it's greater than 15, then we return optional dot off, and then we say response entity dot bad request dot body, and here again we can use the generic response dot builder dot builds. Of course, we should give some kind of message right here. Error message. Captain name is too long. And of course, we could also give a description that, remove some characters. This could be the solution, right? Suggest a solution. Remove some characters. Yes, so that was one thing we have right here. Another thing, if everything goes okay, then we will actually just return optional, and then we will say empty. So that means that if this one is empty, then everything is okay. Then we should not, then we should just continue with our code, right? Of course, we should have more checks. We should also check, right now the ID can actually not be, it should always be null, because we cannot create, if we try to create a new spaceship, the ID should be null, right? Or else it's actually an update, and then we should use the put instead of the post. So let's just go back. Let's just start with this for now. It is easy to actually to get hooked and continue with validating forever. And you should actually do that when you are creating an API for third parties. And you should think about all the things that could actually go wrong. You don't want, if you get garbage in, you don't want to put garbage into your database. You want to punish the client and say, hey, please treat me with some respect. Do not give me this garbage data. Find someone else to mess with, right? Hey, Mr. Mrs. And then the client will say, okay, sorry, I will just change the captain name to something that has less than 15 characters or whatever. I'll be good from now on. And then you have a very good client, you have a very good server, and you're very happy because you don't have garbage data in your database. Okay, so now we have the response entity maybe. So then we say if response entity that is present. If it is there, then we will just return that response entity, because that means that something is wrong and the validator actually figured out what was wrong. So we trust our validator to say, okay, the validator wants to return something. Yes, then we do that. If the validator do not return anything, that means that then we're actually happy. We do not have garbage data. We have cool data. That means that now we can save our spaceship to the database. And of course, now we will return. Now we can return a response entity with OK. And of course, here we can choose multiple things. In this situation, we just want to return the whole spaceship, including the new ID that we just got right there. So this is the best case scenario, then we get the spaceship. Worst case scenario, then we get a JSON array, or we get some validations that we have right here. And as I said before, this part could actually be moved to also to the validator maybe. Actually, all of this could actually be moved to the validator, so then you would have a very short method right here. Then you get this nice overview where you have these 3-liners or 4-liners in your controllers, and then it's very easy to overview what you're actually doing. Now let us see the difference. Let us restart our application and go to our HTTP client, which we have right here. So first of all, we will just press play and get just to see. It's right here. So we only have ID 5 and we have the Sparrow spaceship. Now let us try to go to now we will use post right here. So let us try to let's just try to post it. Let us see what happens now. Look, now we got HTTP 400 back. So that was one thing that we got back. This is the header, content type JSON, that's fine. There's some other blah blah stuff, doesn't matter. And here, look at this object that we got right now. This is the generic response. Error message, captain name is too long. Error description, remove some characters. Okay. Let us just keep something. Of course, there's no validation on the fuel. You saw that there's no validation that the fuel should be a positive number. There's also no validation in the model, so that's also okay. But now we'll just add, we will trick it, we will do something else. Okay, first of all, let us see that it actually worked fine now. And let us not tease it with these values right here. So model should be, that's a sphere now, right? So let's post this one again. This time we got 200 back. That means that everything was okay. HTTP status 200. The annoying headers. Then we got the body right here. And here we have ID 6 and captain something. Yes, thank you very much. Fuel left 12. And we have a model, which is a sphere. Awesome. I already like this API much better than the other API that we had just before. So now let us try to tease it a bit more. We'll just say some key, and then we'll say some value, or it could also be a rank or something like that. Yeah, we have a rank, and the rank right here now is actually not captain, it is just private or something like that, right? But this does not follow the JSON schema. That means that we will get a JSON conversion error. So let us just see what happened now. 400 bad request again, bad request. That means that I was naughty. The client was naughty. This is not good. The error message says that your JSON stinks. Does not spaceship type. Okay, good. That could have been phrased a bit better, right? But we actually get it right here. Does not spaceship type. Yeah, it sounds a bit. Which language is that? I don't know. Maybe it's Yoda or something like that. But it says that's actually the errors right here. Unrecognized field, rank. Okay, so I actually got a lot of help right there. Not marked as ignorable. So now we have two solutions, right? We can actually say that we want to mark extra fields on the class as ignorable by Jackson. That's a feature in Jackson that we can actually do that. Thank you very much, Jackson, for actually promoting your own features. So that is one feature. That's one way to do it. You know what? Actually, let us actually solve it like that, just for fun this time. So that means we go to a spaceship, and then we say JSON ignore properties. Then we say JSON ignore unknown true. So this means that now we can actually give as many cancel and restart. And we will go back to our HTTP file right there. If you don't know what I did there, press Control E. You have to use that. If you're not using it, start using it right now. Control E, you get a list of your recent files. Also, it is not only Java files, it's also your, for instance, your HTTP client that you have right here. So now let us post it again. Let us see what happens. Okay, so now everything actually went okay because the rank was just ignored because we just told Jackson to ignore that rank. We do not want to use it for anything. We got a HTTP code 200 back, and we can also press play on the get. And then we can see here's our spaceship that we have right here. That is very awesome, isn't it? So now we have we went from a shitty API to a good API, to a decent API. And the only thing it actually took was that we have to return the type to object because we want to return different types in different situations. And we want to punish the client and tell it that it has been naughty. And actually, in the long run, the client will actually be happy about this because then the client will know that there might be an error in the client, right, in the client system, because the client system is probably also just it's also a piece of code, right, usually. So they will actually be happy, and then everybody's happy. You're happy because you made some quality work, and your client is happy because you were actually told what actually went wrong, and your boss is happy because he does not have to pay for cleaning up the database with some weird SQL that has to run in the night because it has to clean up 1 million records that is now garbage data, right? So everybody's happy. I'm also happy, so I will place the code on my GitHub account as usual. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great evening, and hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.